project is called A Visit Home. It began as an attempt to understand what my grandmother was going through in her final years, as she lived with us and moved deeper into dementia. I watched as pieces of her memory slipped away, sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once. But through it all, there was one constant: the house she always asked to return to. That longing became the heart of this project. I wanted to see if I could use photography not just to document what was lost, but to hold onto what still lingered. To piece together through images the fragments of a story that was becoming harder and harder for her to tell. Our project begins here with this scale model of the home. It may be small in size, but it holds the emotional weight of an entire lifetime. This is the house that we're standing in now. It's the last home my grandmother remembered her mother living in. And as her dementia progressed, it became the only place she asked to return to. Again and again, she spoke of wanting to go home, not just to a location, but to a memory. To her, this house was more than a physical space. It was her anchor, her identity, a container for everything that mattered most. This project, A Visit Home, began as my attempt to understand what she was going through as she lived with us in her final years. How memory shifts and how it unravels, and how even as pieces fade, something familiar still calls to us. Recreating this house at a 1/12 scale allowed me to enter her experience, to see the space she was clinging to from the inside out, to walk through it as she may have remembered it. The photographs you're about to see started here. These are my grandmother's images, the photographs that she collected throughout her life. I carefully cut out the figures, portraits of our family, removing them from their original context. Then I placed them inside this model house, within the miniature rooms, and rephotographed them. In doing so, I wasn't just recreating scenes, I was building new ones. I was constructing memories she could no longer articulate, but that still lived in the atmosphere of this space. In just a moment, as you move into phase 1, you'll see those photographs, not simply documentation, but as memories reimagined. These photographs mark the beginning, a stage where memory is still mostly intact, even if something is starting to slip. You'll see the images hung on clotheslines, a nod to how my grandmother might have remembered this house, with a line always up in the backyard, sheets and clothes swaying in the wind. But here, the clotheslines do more than evoke nostalgia. They group the photographs together, holding them in an order, a flow. There's a logic to them, a rhythm. Even though the photos themselves have been recontextualized, cut from old family albums, placed into a scale model, there's still a sense of reality in how they sit together. That surreal edge of something just slightly off mirrors the early stages of dementia, where memories are mostly clear but something shifted, where the world still feels familiar even as small details start to fade at the edges. This phase 1, reflects that in-between space, recognizable, grounded, but beginning to blur. This phase reflects the middle stage of dementia. Phase 2, a time where memory begins to truly fracture. In this space, the photographs are no longer printed or placed in frames. They're projected, cast onto walls, ceilings, even furniture. Some of the images you've already seen, others are new, but in projection, even the familiar feels unfamiliar, distorted, unstable, fading in and out. This was the time when she began to lose her sense of connection, not just to the world around her, but to her own memories. She couldn't tell where they belonged, how they were connected, or even if they were hers. And even though the memories were still present somewhere, she felt trapped inside them. Isolated, confused, trying to navigate a story she could no longer hold together. These projections don't just float in space. They're placed back into the walls, like the memories themselves were retreating, slipping back into the structure of the house, receding into the very place that once held them. My grandmother had been the mediator between these memories and the world, the living link to the people, places, and stories in the photographs. But as her memory faded, the memories too began to disappear, not just from her, but from all of us. In this phase, memory becomes less about truth and more about impression, about what it feels like to remember without clarity. The emotions remain, but the shape is gone, just shadows now, echoes projected onto the walls that no longer speak back. Before we move into the final phase, you're going to watch a short video that explains a bit more about my thought process behind this project and about the images you're about to see. But first, I want to say that this phase 3, is meant to feel like a full circle. You'll notice that some of the photographs are back on clotheslines, just like in phase 1. But these images weren't made recently. They were taken during the early stages of my grandmother's dementia, back when I didn't fully understand what was happening. I just knew I needed to document her home, to hold on to it before it began to slip away from her, and eventually from me. And just like the scale model house was a place she longed to return to, these photographs became that place for me. They're my version of a visit home. Something that has always fascinated me about time is how quickly things change. Time is always in motion, our lives never stop. We can't linger in a moment longer than the passage of time allows. Equal duration is allotted to both the sweet and the sad, and each second is given its rightful place within the relentless march of time. It was only 65 years ago that the road you took to this house was nothing but a dirt path. My pop-pop would drive down that road to this very house to pick up my grandmother for a date. 65 years is a lifetime ago, but it's also just a little over 3,000 weeks. This is the magic of photography. It freezes time. No other medium captures a moment in the same way. You can draw a scene, you can paint it, but those acts unfold across shifting spans of time. The image is shaped by the changing mood and evolving intention of the artist. But a photograph is created in the same moment that memory is formed. It's a visual printout of what the mind recorded. Like a Polaroid to the mind, a photograph lives and breathes as a physical declaration that something occurred. Even the images you've looked at today, the ones carefully created and curated, exist parallel to the moments now past. They capture a specific time when my grandmother was still living. Her presence held steady within the frame. But they also capture the unseen. They record not only her life, but also my own process. Even when memories falter, photographs continue to speak. They carry forward stories long after our voices fall silent. And now, as you enter the next room, you will see images that represent another home, one I grew up visiting, where I spent countless moments with my grandmother. Like this house, the place has changed. The lives I remember there have receded into the walls, and it's only through photographs that I can prove these memories were real. What remains is this, a collection of images preserving what has been lost to time. you for walking with me through this journey. Dementia unravels memory, but memory isn't gone just because it's forgotten. Photographs are fragile, like memories, but they endure. They witness, they carry forward pieces of those we love. This project is an offering, my grandmother's story, told through fractured images and half-remembered scenes. I hope as you leave, you carry pieces of your own story too, because memory, like a photograph, lives on in the people who remember. Thank you for visiting home with me.